Hey everybody, this is Barry Kleiman on the Playground Principles podcast, and I'm sitting with an old friend who's a new friend, but he feels like an old friend. I feel like I've known Steve Stefano for a long, long time, and I guess it just is a byproduct of being. I'm older than Steve, but I guess it's a byproduct of being in a Philly playground and understanding really what that meant. It has connections at so many points. Steve was a far better player than I, as far as I could figure. Uh, his backcourt running mate introduced us, Phil Martelli. And before we get on to Phil, I just want to let Steve introduce himself and take me through your playground journey, including maybe I thought you might want to write a book like the Playground Principles. So fire away, Steve. Introduce yourself and go forward.
Thanks, Barry. So I'm Steve Stefano, and it's great to make a new friend. I can tell you that much. And you and I have had several phone conversations, passed notes back and forth through text a lot, and it's really been terrific.
Thank you.
We have very similar ideas. When I as it relates to your basketball principles, as it relates to my book that I wrote several years ago, I think 10 years ago, maybe even more. No, 2006.
Wow.
So, wow. So that's a long time ago. Um, but there's a lot of similarities in thinking there because I'm a big believer in business, in the business playground, that there's no substitute for great values. And it's a shame. And I found this to exist when in the 2004, 2005 period when the company I was with, Glaxo Welcome, we merged with another big pharmaceutical company called SmithKline Beecham,
Sure.
and together became GlaxoSmithKline. And this mammoth pharmaceutical company did a lot of good things. But the reason I wrote my book was because it, I noticed that people were just not paying attention to the soft values, as I would call them. And it was all about dollars and cents and all about numbers and performance, and basically forgetting about what drives companies. And what drives companies, yeah, good products drive companies, but no substitute for good people. What drives good people? What drives good people is to feel like they're welcome and appreciated and recognized.
Steve, I'm going
So
to
to
stop you for a second because I agree with you, but your background is so robust. So take me through, how you got into a big company in your career arc because you left Glaxo in a big job. So the perspective that you're offering everybody is valuable, but tell us how you came to all these conclusions, as
Yeah,
your journey in the corporate life evolves. Is that a fair question?
yeah, thank you. My fault. I should have
No,
answered that
no,
to
not at
start.
all. There's no
Yeah.
fault.
So I graduated from St. Joseph's College, came out, had a couple little jobs out of college, and then a friend of mine who was a pharmacist told me I should call this guy that was trying to recruit reps, some pharmaceutical sales reps in the Philadelphia area, and told me, he said, I think you'd be pretty good at this. So I ended up calling the guy, the district sales manager, and lo and behold, he hired me. Having said that, if you took my resume today and you tried to get into a big pharmaceutical company, the only thing it would be good for would be to be a paper airplane to the nearest trash can. People didn't hire pharmaceutical companies today don't hire people with my Bachelor of Arts political science degree. They just don't. And so I worked real hard. I was a good rep. And then I got promoted to the home office to be a trainer, sales trainer. And I moved to North Carolina. First time I ever moved away from Philadelphia in my life. Furthest I'd ever been was probably Wildwood Crest, New Jersey, before that. And moved to North Carolina, worked for 2 years as a sales trainer, and then was promoted to run a division called the Managed Care Division, which was responsible for U.S. payers. And as the industry changed, as the pharma industry changed, U.S. payers became much, much, much more important. And an escalator for my career. I just continued to do that for 25 years, and the department grew. My responsibilities grew. I mean, at one time I had 500 people under me in the managed care
Oh my
department.
God, 500 people.
And then I also had 3,000 sales reps under me
Jeez.
for the primary care sales force.
Um,
So, and
Stevie, excuse me 1 second again. Sorry, I'm going to add one more to your staff because Coach Phil Martelli just joined the Zoom room. So
oh, good.
let him in. Should we let him in? What do you think?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. He's connecting to audio. Coach Martelli, we can see you. We can't hear you. Hello, Coach Martelli.
Good afternoon. I apologize.
Not at all.
Hey,
You're
Phil.
Stevie, how you doing?
Doing great.
We'll let Stevie beat you up because I can't.
You know what? I gotta tell you something. I'm glad he got on because ever since I was in seventh grade, I've always been substituting for him
Yeah.
and in the backcourt. And he was way better than me, I can tell you that much. So I'm glad he's on.
As am I. He's the glue that put this whole thing together, actually. And Phil, I just want to say that I have this shirt on because I promised Mo that I would represent the Philadelphia Black Basketball Hall of Fame because it was through that you and I met, and you got a copy of the book, and that led us to Steve. So I'm a share the ball guy, and Mo, thank you very much, for all of this. And so forth. Phil, Steve was just taking us through a little bit of his corporate career, but I'm going to, would you introduce yourself real quick and tell us how you and Stevie are connected and all that real quickly, just for context?
Well, I met Stevie when I was in seventh grade. I grew up in Southwest Philadelphia, and I affectionately say I was a playground rat. I got home from grade school at St. Barnabas, changed and went to the playground, Finnegan Playground, 69th and Dix. And if it was baseball, we played baseball. If it was football season, we played football. Very rarely did we get into a gym, but when we did, it was Tilden Junior High School, and it was a rec program. I don't really have um, remembrances of that. I moved to Delaware County, and the first day of school, I went outside and said, "Okay, what do you guys do here? Where do you go?" And it was just spread out, and eventually there was. I actually went back to Southwest Philly my whole seventh grade year and played Wade football. Uh, I'm proud to say I'm the only football player in seventh or eighth grade who never had to get his pants cleaned because I never wanted to get hit. It was just not part of it. Uh, and then I found my way to the basketball uh, that these guys played, and I was enamored with the people because Barry, I think you could attest to this. When you're in the city, there are no grades. Like the sixth graders don't have to play with the sixth graders, and what I found in the suburbs was, well, that's the way it went a little bit until you came to basketball, and then basketball became this great societal experiment. And
Well said.
went out for this team, the CYO team, and they told me that we had good coaches, we had a gym at our school, that we practiced, and it was organized. And so I was in the seventh grade, Steve was in the sixth grade, and I joined a team that ended up winning the first school championship. And Stevie would know better than I would. I think it was over 50 years, right, Steve?
Yeah, and St. Philomena's, the school that he's talking about, they were never very good. It all turned around that year, 19, I guess I would say that was 66, 67. And we did win. You guys did win the league then.
So we won that league, and then came back as eighth, and then it was like a bug, Barry, to be honest with you. Like we played every day,
Yeah.
every day, and guys that were on the team, guys that weren't on the team, everybody played basketball. Everybody played basketball. And you and I have had this conversation. It was a young group, and then you got off the court at 5 o'clock. You went home to dinner, and then you tried to get back as quick as you can in case the older guys needed a tenth guy.
Yep.
Um, and that was every single day, every day. No days were missed. And from there, I went to St. Joe Prep. I got a chance. I made the team as a freshman. Um, and then my sophomore year, and that was the year that I met Mo Howard, my freshman year.
Nice.
Uh, Sophomore year, I played JV. Junior year, I started varsity on a team that won the Philadelphia Catholic League. And Stevie's part of this next story. Um, we won the league on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, and we were playing for the city championship at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning at the Palestra against Overbrook with Andre McCarter,
Yep.
Kevin Washington. They had 6 Division I players. I
I
didn't know
remember
what
the
that
team.
meant. Yeah, I didn't know what that meant at the time. And we got beat, and I went home, and it was a beautiful day, and I went to the court. I went to play pickup, and Stevie came down and said, "Hey Phil, your game's on TV," and it was delayed on ABC, and I said, "Yeah, I was there. I know what happened. So let's play." And we played. Um, I went to Widener and played at Widener. Um, and then as soon as I got out of uh, college, I wanted to coach. So I coached in the Catholic League with Buddy Gardler at Cardinal O'Hara. I went back to Widener, coached a team that had great public league players like Dennis James from Southern. He was the seventh man at Southern.
Hmm.
Ended up being the seventh round draft pick of the Boston Celtics. Um, he was Division III Player of the Year. That team played for the national championship and lost. And then I got a high school job at Norristown at Bishop Kenrick High School. I coached there for 7 years. Got a chance to go to St. Joe's with Jim Boyle, a West Catholic grad, 58th and King Sesson, and McCreesh Playground legend. Um, and then Barry as the Jim Boyle played in high school with Jim Lynam and with Herb McGee.
Sure.
Uh, it's just this world is so small.
I'm
Uh,
old enough to have this book and watch
there you go.
Dr. Jack coach. I mean, I'm older than you, and St. Joe Fieldhouse was like going to, I'm Jewish, going to shul.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So I get it. How did you and Stevie collaborate? Where did you play together? Did you guys have nicknames for one another? Like,
Oh,
no.
no, we didn't, but uh, he was always one of those guys that I, not that I'm ashamed of, I admit it. In our playground, it was a 2-3 zone. So you went, okay, who can shoot? Stevie could shoot
That's what he told me.
outdoors. He could really shoot outdoors, and you'd be like, okay, I'll take him. He might not have been, pick number one. Barry, how you always wanted that second pick. All right, you have first, I have next two.
Next two,
Next two was
absolutely.
a big advantage.
They're very, very big advantage. Spoken like a true coach. And Stevie did tell me that you did him a great service. He said he could shoot it, and you were a good passer. So y'all made a good team in that regard. I was joking before you came on. I said this is the first one of these calls I've had. I wasn't even that good, but I'm now getting double teamed by two pretty good players here, which I love. You know, I'm smart enough to know to just keep my dribble and let you guys talk. So, I mean, really, the principles. You and I talked a lot, Phil, when you first wrote to me, which was a great surprise. But when you got on, Stevie was talking about the playground principles as it related to his career. And what I really was hoping to do with the book, with these conversations, is keep them alive in any context. I was thrilled to hear that you're doing these clinics. You're giving back, right? You're taking the principles that you learned and you're going to Bonner and all these other places. I just want to hear about how you guys took those lessons and extrapolated them, because to me, if we lose them, we're screwed. And that's why I wrote the book in the first place. But you're the stars of the show, seriously. And just talk to me about principles and how they've affected your lives. And I would love both of you to hear it all. I mean, your son coaches it. It's amazing, but you tell me.
Go ahead, Stevie.
Well, before I do, Phil, thank you. But before I do, Phil left something out of his background here. When we first met, I was like he said, I was in sixth grade, he was in seventh, and God is my judge. We were standing outside the steps of our old school at St. Phil's, February day, and Phil told me, Stevie, someday I'm going to coach St. Joe's basketball team. He said, someday I'm going to sit in Jack Ramsey's chair, and lo and behold, he did it for 20 some years, 25 years or so. So that I always bring that up because that really stuck with me. When you talk about when you talk about playground principles, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that what we learned playing basketball, pickup basketball, or pickup baseball, you name the sport,
Doesn't matter.
football. What we learned, sharing the ball, right? You can't have a successful team unless you share the ball. So share the work, share the credit, right? Share the credit when things go right. Accept the responsibility as a leader when things don't go right. That's when you don't share. That's when you hold the ball.
Well
Um,
said.
you know, learning how to compete fairly in business. I mean, not cutting corners, right? It's the same thing to me as practice. It's learning your skills. Don't cut corners.
Touch every
If
line.
you're going to set a pick, set a pick the right way, right? If you're going to get back on defense, get back the right way. If you got a 3-2 break, to go to the center. The other two guys go to the side, right? So you can just take examples of things that we learned on the schoolyard and apply them to business, and they all meld into building real good values on your team. And I mentioned the book that I wrote called Passion and Ice, and you said you're getting a copy right now.
Yes, it's
Ice
on its
Ice
way.
stands for integrity, courage. ICE stands for integrity, courage, and empathy. And I think they are critical success factors for anyone who's in a big leadership position. Integrity and courage, they're greens fees. You can't be a good leader if you're not honest and you're not courageous. If you can't accept blame, if you can't throw out accolades to your team, you can't. And then what really is the rest the ingredient to the recipe that makes you a great leader is empathy. And I learned that from my dad, who was a great businessman, great leader. And he told me before I went to the home office at Glaxo, he said, Stevie, just remember, people aren't going to care how much you know till they know how much you care. And that's, as you said, John Wooden's expression.
Yep.
So, and I just always took that to heart. And then meeting you and talking about playground principles, they're the same. They're exactly the same thing.
I've invented nothing. Like I said, for me, in my world, and I'd really be interested to hear Phil's perspective because he took it from a different view, but I saw the principles dissipating. You're in corporate life. I mean, you were in many ways a little bit of a victim of it, not victim, and I know you're not playing a victim card, but I mean, a certain kind of loyalty, but stuff happens. But I saw corner cutting and I saw finger pointing in corporate life. I mean, the dysfunction of humanity kept me in business. It kept a recruiter in business because it kept jobs open. You know, people were literally assassinating each other, as it were, right? And so, it was none of my business, but I kept seeing it, and that's ultimately why I wanted to write about it. Not nowhere near to Coach Martelli's level, but I coached youth, and I kept seeing it in so many ways. So I'm just afraid we're going to lose it, and if we lose that, I think we lose a lot. And so having gentlemen like you to talk about it from your experience, I mean, my book is just a vehicle for guys like you to talk about and tell me your thoughts, because there's nothing new in there. You just said it, Steve. There's nothing new in there. I didn't invent a damn thing. I'm a reporter, and I think you just
Neither
talked.
did I. Neither did I.
No, and so forth. Phil, how did you see it manifest
I
as
think
your
that I
career
thought
and coaching evolved?
I thought the now you didn't know it at the time because you were so young, but I think like the organizational skills, like like getting there, right? So, okay, what time are we going to play? We're going to play at 10 o'clock. And then everybody gets there. Everybody gets there. And now you have to be organized and saying, okay, how are we going to pick teams?
Right.
And how, to me, it was always fascinating. Like there was order, there was order to this 15 guys. Or how do 12 guys, well, there's only 10 spots. And how does that 11th and 12th guy, well, I have next. And so the organizational skills, and I mean this, like,
No, you're right.
I would go down the street, and this is before cell phones. So you had to count on word of mouth. And if you got somewhere and you were short, you could send somebody to knock on a door to find that ninth and 10th guy and whatever. And that was one thing. I think the second thing is, yes, there were arguments about score, about a foul, about a not a foul, but on the playground, you ended up settling it. And it didn't always go to, as it goes to today, the loudest voice, and people just get worn out. You're going to stand on something. And I thought that was invaluable. I think going to another court, right?
Mhm.
So we had a thing at Lansdowne Alton where we labeled ourselves the owners of this court. If you came to our court, you were going to play against us before you just got into a game. But when you went to other courts, it was the same thing. Okay, I got to find my way into this game. So conflict resolution,
Yep.
right? Ownership, uh, organizational skills. I think the idea of respect. I don't think that in the real world, uh, you get respect without giving it first. And on those courts, you gave respect.
That
You
was a
gave
lesson, right? I mean, that's
it was
what you
it was
did.
an absolute it was an absolute lesson. And I think the other thing was, and again, I didn't know it at the time. None of us knew it, but you were resilient. You might have played, pick a number. All right, we played 7 games that day. And you might have played every game. You didn't have to sit out. But guess what? When you came back the next day, didn't matter if you were 0 or 7 or 7. You just wanted to be one of the first 10 that you got picked in that first game. I just and then I do think this, Barry, and you're alluding to it. I think there's a place in life, business, schools, families, communities, churches, where you must first follow before you lead.
Absolutely.
And I believe that watching the older guys,
The old
it
head.
it did pass that down so that when you got your turn, you were you were ready to go.
Yeah. I,
And then as you go through this game, the in a really, really, really tough world and a tough time when we were coming up racially, I do believe basketball does not discriminate. I don't think it cares if you're black or white. I don't care if you're from Yeadon or North Philly. And if you go on a court and you know your place and you can dribble, pass, and shoot, and you're willing to compete, you can get into a game anywhere in this country,
Absolutely.
male, female.
Absolutely. Stevie, you were going to say so. I agree, Phil, with everything. I mean, it's like in some ways, I got a couple chills because this is it, and I just want to keep hearing it from people, not me. Like I said, I try to write a book. Stevie, were you going to say something about this?
it just really tickled me about respect. You know, you're in seventh grade, eighth grade, and you go down to the court, our court, and you're watching the old heads play, right? And you're just sitting on the sideline. When there's a break in the action, you run out on the court, you take a few shots, and then you go back and and sit, and you're chomping at the bit to be in one of those games, right? And then finally, they need a 10th. So they go, okay, Steve, come on. We need a 10th. So now you're on the court with the old guys, with the old heads, right? And this is what you've been chomping to do. But you got to be real respectful and real careful. You can't hog the ball. You can't shoot if you shouldn't shoot, right? Because they want to win. They don't want to sit. They want to win so they can keep playing. So that thing that Phil talked about as far as respect, it manifests itself right there, right? You get a chance to get in. Now you got to play respectfully. You play competitively, obviously, but you got to be respectful of your teammates. That stuff is what happens in business too.
Of course, in life, yes, indeed, yes.
Somebody gives you a big project in a corporation. We want you to handle this project, and this is my chance now, right? I'm number 10. I just got called into the game, and now you got to do it respecting your bosses, respecting your subordinates, respecting your colleagues in order to get the job done. Same thing, no different.
Great point.
None whatsoever, right? I say in the book, every day was a tryout. In the playground was just like you said, Stevie, in a different way, right? I mean, you just got to prove it, and it was such a refreshing thing. Your reputation. If you shot lights out one day, the next day you clanked everything, you stopped trying. How'd that work for you, Phil? Moving forward.
Yeah, it was a God. And Barry, I think I said to you that this has been. I'm going to go out and say Stevie and I have been talking about this for 20 years.
You wrote that to me. I was so tickled. But keep going.
He was going to write this. He said to me, "I want to do this," and even with his book on Philadelphia, and we all gathered. It was all these guys that played now. And I don't mean this. I don't mean this in any way, shape, or form. But of those guys that played, I'm the blessed one. I made it my life, right? I made it my living.
That's true.
But it all goes back to that court, right?
100%.
It didn't because, because you played in college. No. It all went back. And somewhere in this house, I have a ball, and Stevie's on that ball, that the guys I played with on that court signed a basketball for me after one of our biggest years, right, Steve? We met in media at a restaurant.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's
the other thing too is, go ahead.
Steve, your connection's a little wonky.
I was going to say, can you hear me?
I can. It just got a little wonky, but
Can't
go
hear
ahead.
me?
We want to hear what you have to say.
Well, we did this thing. Phil and I did it at a restaurant media. This is different than he's talking about. I think they played the courts. That there was one court, but we called it the courts. We did a reunion. This is probably about 12 years ago or so, and we had guys there that played basketball, pick up basketball on that court from ages 40 to 80. And there were probably 75 to 80 guys in that little bar restaurant telling stories and lies about our time playing basketball. And there were ex-coaches there. It was incredible. It was incredible. In fact, the Philadelphia Inquirer did a 2-page article on that reunion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. These things are evergreen. And
yes.
Look, Phil, I said to Steve before you got on, Stevie sent me some notes about, because he wanted to do some speaking, or has done some speaking. And he sent me his notes, and I read them, and Steve will tell you, I said, the coach in me, Steve's going to push you to go out and do it again, because this is, we have time and we have a message, and for us to not share. Phil, that's why I love when you told me the other day when we first met that you're going to go teach these clinics, right? And teach how many balls you have, or the balls ready. How do you organize it? This is, if you don't share that, shame on you, right? I mean, this is
Yes.
it got us here, right? And whatever. There's a generation, but the greatest generation before us, but that generation helped us. You mentioned your dad, but to not share this, and the kids are going down a bad way. I might have said it in my long-winded text to you, Stevie. Note, there's guys like Smirkanish and the professor from NYU. They're petrified about this exact same thing. Like, kids are locked in their basement trading crypto and tech and doing weird stuff, and they're not out, learning what it's like to get a forearm in your chest and roll off it and go get a loose ball and compete. Don't cheat, compete. And this is our job. At least I'm not recruiting. Well, I did recruit you to come on, but I wrote the book for this reason, to see if I could gather traffic to get this message evergreen. That's my platform in life.
To I don't know.
Say it, please.
I will only say like a couple of I moved from Norristown to Drexel Hill. My sons were probably first grade and kindergarten. And I rode around the neighborhood and I found that they had an outdoor court with lights. And I was like, this is perfect. They're going to learn that game on that court.
Yep.
And even in my own family, if I said to my sons when they were in 8th grade, why don't you go up to the court and organize it? They would look at me and say, well, we don't have a game. I'd be like, no, you don't need a game. You need
People.
10 people.
Show up.
Like, and you're in a good CYO program. Like, just go play. And yeah, it was mind blowing to me. And when I drive by and I see courts empty, and I go back to Southwest Philly even and do reading at a Catholic school, and I'll think, these streets raised a lot of us.
No doubt.
And I don't mean that we were neglected at home. We weren't in any way,
I get
form.
it.
But those streets taught so many lessons that it aches. You ache. How many kids are playing college basketball who have never played an outdoor game? That's impossible.
I couldn't agree anymore. The gentleman out here, Louis Renault, who worked for Ben Braun, and I sent him a copy of my Lou and I are close, and he said, Barry, I love this. He said, but kids who played for me, they never saw a playground. They never saw a playground. But my question for us guys is, when did it turn, and what possible, like Stevie, I already said to you, you got to go out and get the message out there, but what else can be done? Otherwise, I felt, for me, I wrote the book because I didn't want to be an old freaking whining guy complaining, because again, I was nowhere near as good as either of you guys, but I compete. And this book was my beginning of competing. So, but when do you think it turned, Phil, Steve? When did it turn? When did kids stop showing up in the playground?
Well, I have to say, I think it's when, I'm just guessing here, but I think it has a lot to do with the internet, and when all these games and social media stuff became just so prevalent among children. They don't play. You go out. My mother, as soon as I would come home from school, go out and play. She didn't really have to tell me. I was headed to the court. But kids don't do that, and I think they're just addicted to this internet. And not that there's anything wrong with the internet, but everything has to be done in balance and moderation. And kids have to have programs organized for them. They can't figure it out.
That's what
they
Phil
can't
was saying.
figure it out.
That's what Phil was saying.
And I think the that I think very specifically in Philadelphia, it was around um, the time that some of the greatest players to play in Philadelphia were playing. I think the Rasheed Wallace era kicked in the first time that Philadelphians decided that they had to pack up and go play on a team that was going to go to Las Vegas.
Got it.
And I think there was uh, like the death of the playground. And then as you fast forward, the sanctity of the playground is now gone, right?
Explain that, please.
It's no longer a safe haven
Okay.
because uh, and I'll be kind and call them these thugs think that it means nothing to shoot indiscriminately. And when we've walked away from settling your score with your hands,
Yeah,
or your mouth, right? Right? You settled your score by yapping. Uh, it 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 just that playground fabric um is so sad. So it went, well, playgrounds, they'll shoot in playgrounds, they'll shoot in churches, they'll shoot in schools, they'll shoot in factories. What the bleep are we doing here? What
Right.
are we doing? And then I think that there's and I don't mean this, I think it was more a safety precaution than a racial statement. But when townships started to take down their courts, like if we were to get in the car and drive around Delaware County and say, yeah, we used to play here, we used to play there, we used to play there, and you go like, yeah, but the court's going. What do you mean the court's going?
right. Right.
Baskets there anymore? They took them down, I think, because they feared, well, it's an open area, we can't control it.
Wow.
But if we minimize the open area, there won't be the gatherings.
Right.
That's a very I have no argument, but it's kind of intense to think about, right? Like, because you I wrote it. A societal experiment, basketball was, and it was. And if we don't have that experiment, how are the kids going to learn? How are they going to learn to communicate and to know that a fist bump matters and everything that Stevie talked about manifests in business. I said the only quote of mine in the whole book is the world changed for the worse when we lost the meritocracy of the playground. Because that is my belief, right? And the meritocracy, everything you just said, figure it out, settle the score, get it done, and then play. And we just don't know how to do that anymore. And it's
Just go play.
just go play, right? Just
Yeah.
go play. I mean,
So it's in addition to it being and I like that. I really like that, the societal experiment.
I love it.
It's also the societal classroom at the same time. I mean, you learn so much that you could take to business, you could take to the church, you could take to the golf course. You learn so much
The family room, right?
in that little classroom. You have five guys against five guys up and down a court, right? It's a classroom to me. It was a classroom.
Undoubtedly, I talked to, Phil has Stevie has a friend, Bobby. Stevie has a friend, Phil, named Bobby Clampett, and he's a golfer. And his story is fascinating. But one of the things I say is, I talk about it from a playground asphalt perspective, but people grew up in different playgrounds. You talked about a little bit, Stevie. It could be baseball. We all had laboratories of learning, and somehow that soft skill, that ability to settle, to just go play, doesn't matter what the game is. Figure it out, organize, like Phil told his kids, figure it out, organize it, and move on. It doesn't have to be, I don't know, it's interesting, but when we lose this ability to communicate mano y mano, just like this, we never met, the three of us. I mean, we talked a couple of
Right.
times, but Phil, when you called me that day one, You know, I mean, I know you because you grew up in the Philly playground and so did I. Otherwise, we never said two words to one another, you know, but it didn't matter, right? And this becomes an issue that I think I'm just petrified we're going to lose for my grandkids, you know, for your you know, whatever. Phil, how does your son find it right now? Like, you know, he's a modern day coach, right, down at Virginia Commonwealth. What's his experience? How much does he call on Godfather Phil to help to be a
Oh,
wartime
I
concierge?
never speak. I never speak to my sons about X's and O's
Well, I
because I'm
figured as
not
much.
there every day. Unless I'm there every day, then I could have a comment. I don't. What I focus on is uh, in this game, and no matter how it changes, no matter how it changes, the game cannot take away your memories and it cannot take away your relationship. The
Yep.
change in the game cannot take away your memories or your relationships. So I watch his relationships with with his players. And the example that I use is last year when he was coaching at Bryan, I sat behind the bench. They played UMBC and they won a like 99-95 game. And he was walking off the floor. And I said to him, hey, in the locker room, make sure you point out this one kid. This one kid had been in the rotation, had not played well in the rotation. He didn't play that night. What that kid did was cheer his ass off for
There you
40
go.
minutes.
There you
And I said,
go.
make sure you acknowledge him. Make sure you acknowledge that kid. You won because of him.
There you go.
And that so when I talk to my son, it's about it's about the remembering the relationships. Um, and even when he built a staff at Bryan, I mean, I built a staff at VCU. I said, you're taking all the Bryan guys because they didn't sign up to win you a championship for you to leave them behind.
Good for you.
And he gets that. And I think it's a matter of it could be semantics, but to me it's not. It's the same as was on the playground. We're here with each other. We're here with each other. When you're working in a Division I program, you're working with those other guys
Absolutely.
and not for those other guys.
We,
We're working for our institution, but we're working with people. We're working with managers, with support staff, with video people, and um, I, I I just I just sent a note to a guy. There's an agent going in to see my son's team play on Sunday, and I said I'm proud of both my sons because they understand. And the same thing about pickup basketball. It's about the people. It's not about the game,
nope. The game's a
right?
vehicle, right?
Right. And somebody being, like somebody should get more respect because of their record or point. Nah, that it doesn't. It it's not meant to work like that. Life doesn't work like that.
It's
I
not.
don't give a damn what you
It
have.
really isn't.
I really don't care what you have. I care about who you are.
We have to get this message across to everybody. You know, I watched the Warriors last night, and Jonathan Kuminga made a defensive play that no one will ever see. It meant nothing except it could have won them the game, and it was just he switched off at the right. He's starting to understand basketball, but that's the we, right? That it wasn't a basket. He didn't get a dunk. He didn't pound chest. He didn't. But this is it, and this is what we learned, right, Stevie, in the playground. This is what we talked about, helping each other. And boy, it's hard. I mean, I want to say I know Stevie has to go. His granddaughter is in a recital. Um, so
Can I, let me just say,
please
if I
do.
may,
And
one
I'm going to
thing.
ask you guys, maybe we'll redo that. We'll run it back
Yeah,
at some point. But go ahead, Stevie, because I know you have to go and I'm sensitive.
yeah. I'm so glad to hear Phil say that about the people. And when I think about my career, and the people that were really very, very close on my team, our team, um, I'm still in constant contact with them. And I left Glaxo in 2009.
Yep.
started my own company in 2012, but I yearned for still being in contact with those people, so much so that I would dream about them. I didn't dream about the business. I dreamt about the people that work with, and they were so critical. They weren't just critical to my success; they were critical to my happiness. And so kudos, Phil, for bringing it up about the relationships and the people. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? I mean, those are the principles we learned. I mean, they just were, and it just is. It's evergreen. Just a real quick aside. Stevie introduced me to this gentleman, Bobby Clampett, and Bob and I got to talk. And one thing led to another. I said, "Hey, Bobby, do you know a woman named Donna Orander?" Because he worked on CBS TV for 20 some years. He said, "Oh my God, Barry, she's one of my best friends." I said, "You're kidding me." I said, "I was her camp counselor." I said,
Wow.
"Behind me is the basketball." Donna wound up to be the president of the WNBA. I've known her since I'm 19. And she would tell you I taught her to play basketball. She was an All-American Queens College. But to this day, and because these relationships, there's magic in the ball. I think, Phil, you wrote something like that in one of our texts. And the point is, when you get it, you get it. And if we lose it, we're just going to freaking lose it. And I just want to say one more time, guys, I'd love to run
Please,
this back. I'm petrified we're going to lose it. I am. I'm petrified. And I can't lie. And I'm very grateful that you would both invest some of your time to talk about it. I really am.
Count me in, and I'm going to give you this one because it does touch Stevie.
Please.
I got a call from a kind of a mentor of both of us, Dave Parker. He's an older guy. He played at our grade school, older than us. Played at Bonner, which was a really big deal because not a lot of guys from our grade school played for the high school. Went on to play at Mount St. Mary's for Jim Phelan. And he's now an assistant women's coach at Immaculata College.
No way.
He invited me to speak to the Immaculata men's and women's team. But he said, you can only come if your wife comes, because my wife is a member of the Mighty Macs, is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And the beauty there is that every one of my wife's teammates would say she's the best teammate I ever had. And a lot of them went on to coach. Many of them major college. Marion Stanley won national championships, went into the WNBA, but she was the best teammate.
What a compliment.
And I told the young ladies and the young men that play for Immaculata, that's what's most important.
Of course.
Okay. At the end of the year, when I call back your coaches, tell me who the best teammate. So when you say, who's the connector?
Yeah.
Who's the connector?
Yep.
The ball connected us, but then at each area, like there's a connection now, Barry, like a spoke. Well, Mo got me in touch with you.
Yep.
And I played with Mo, and Mo's son went to the prep with my son. So the other day, VCU exhibition game against Villanova, and there are my son shaking Ashley Howard.
I saw that actually.
And it just keeps, to me, this can never end. This bond can never end.
And this is my
totally agree.
And you guys are bigger, you have bigger purchase platforms, whatever, but I wanted to be the catalyst for it because I still know, I don't think you know any more than I do about how important it is, right? But we're kindred spirits to it, and I'm just trying to build a movement. Honestly, I really am. It's what matters most to me at my age, and because I think we all got here from it.
Yes.
Every one of us. Stevie got there, and whatever. So again, I thank you both very much.
Yeah, count me in too, Barry.
Yeah,
it's great seeing you doing another podcast with you. Thank you, Barry. This was wonderful.
Thank
really,
you for
really
including
wonderful.
me. Thank you for including me. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. We'll
I gotta go. Now I gotta go see Kennedy in her play.
The most important thing, and we'll run it back, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.